Hello, my name is Jennifer, and I am the Touch and See Lab Coordinator at the Bell Museum. And today, in honor of an exhibit that we are having, we're going to learn how to draw a narwhal. It's pretty simple drawing. You don't need a lot of different equipment. I have a pencil, and I have a small selection of crayons. You could do this with colored pencils or markers, but I have a gray. I have a couple of different colors of blue. I have a black, a brown, and then some form of yellow. It doesn't really matter what kind of yellow. But there we go. That's all you need to start. Here's what we're going to learn how to do. I'm going to start with our white page here. And as we go along, I'm going to teach a little bit about narwhal. So if you don't know what a narwhal is, this is a little model of a narwhal. Narwhal are an Arctic whale. They're kind of a small whale, but they're probably most famous for this tusk. So when we get to the tusk, we're going to talk about it a little bit. So we're going to start. I'm just going to use a pencil to do my first outline, and then we're going to color over that pencil. So we're going to start with making kind of, I don't know, it's almost like a banana shape, but it's really rounded. So we're going to do just a little bit of an arc. I'm going to go a little darker on mine than you probably need to do so that everybody can see. We're going to make a banana shape, kind of a rounded banana shape. There's our whale shape. Now one of the things you have to worry about is where you put it on your paper, because we're going to have this tusk. And if you put it too close to this end, your tusk is going to go off the one end, or you're going to have a really short tusk. So this is our starting shape. Couple of cool things about narwhal that are going to kind of make the shape a little bit different over time as we draw it. One of the things for them is that most whales, their neck vertebrae are fused, which means they can't turn their head like we can. But belugas and narwhal can, so they can do the head tilt thing. So they have this weird little bump here, and that's because that's where their neck is. And so we're gonna have to influence that a little bit in our drawing. So I'm gonna give it a little bit more of a bump here. But that's a good start. Now, they're pretty basic critters on the whole. So we're gonna give the tail, which is also called the fluke in whales. Now, if you think of a shark's tail would go up and down like that. Whales, actually, their tails go side to side, and so that shape is a little tricky if you've never drawn something quite like it before. So you start in the middle of the body, and you go out, and we're going to do almost like kind of like a heart, but with pointy ends. This is our heart shape. So it goes kind of in the middle, out, got a little dip in the middle, and back. So that's our heart shape. And then they have flippers, which are the same as our arms and hands. They go out like this. We're only going to do the one side. Otherwise, you could draw the other one in there if you wanted to be like you could see both sides. We're going to do one side because it's a little bit easier. Now, before we put the tusk on, the most important thing is figuring out where the mouth is. So our little mouth is they're kind of low on the head. They eat a lot of bottom of the ocean fish like halibut and cod and cuttlefish and squid. And so their mouth is actually kind of low on their head. And they do kind of look like they're smiling, so we're going to give ours a little, kind of a big mouth. And then they have eyes, but they're small eyes, and they're kind of way back, so we're just going to one little eye. So that's our basic outline. Now the thing that makes narwhals and what everybody loves about them is their tusk. Gets them the nickname of the unicorn of the sea. Even their scientific name is all based on that. Their scientific name is Monodon monoceros, which basically means one tooth, one horn. So They have one tusk that comes out the front. Now, this is a cast of a broken tip from an actual narwhal. Their tusks are one tooth. They're usually the left incisor grows out through the top lip and it curls. And they can be quite long. So a narwhal can get to be up to about 18 feet. A tusk can be 10. So it can be almost more than half their length. Usually the males are the only ones who have the tusks, but about 15% of females will also have a tusk. And every so often you'll get one that gets two. So the right tooth will grow out as well. But that's pretty rare. And so this tooth will grow out from the top part of the lip, so just above the mouth. You find your spot, and then you have to figure out how long you want your tusk to be. Do you want a really long tusk? Do you want a short little stumpy tusk? Maybe it's a brand new little baby. It's got a little tiny tusk. But we're gonna give ourselves a good sized tusk. Now, I did grab a second pencil, and part of the reason I did that is sometimes it's hard to keep a kind of a straightish line. So I'm going to figure out how long I want my tusk to be. I'm just going to follow my pencil. Oops. And see, there, I made a little curve. Oops. No big deal. Ours is going to have a little bit. I mean, don't usually erase, but I'm going to erase right there. But it gave me a partial straight line to start with, and then just a little bit lower. You kind of have to make, it's really a long, thin triangle. So there's our tusk. Now there's other things that have tusks. If you think of elephants that have tusks, or another Arctic animal that has a tusk, is a walrus. I have a little walrus here. This is an actual walrus tusk. So this is also ivory. You can see how this goes down. So in our case, it'd be straight down. But because of the way these whales swim, their tusk goes forward. The tusk is really cool. Usually it's males that have the tusk, and so we think that at least in part of it, it's like males maybe fighting with other males or showing some sort of dominance. But we also know there's a lot of sensory organs in there, so there's a lot of nerves in there, and they may be able to detect different things about the ocean that they live in. So maybe it's temperature or salinity or things like that. But we're still learning. They're kind of a mysterious creature. We don't know a lot about them. So all right, we have our outline. This is great. Now time to add a little color to our narwhal. Narwhals start off a little bit darker when they're young, but kind of a mottled gray or brown color. And then as they get older, they get lighter and lighter until some of the older males are almost white. Their close cousin, the beluga whale, is an all-white whale. So we're going to add a little bit of color. I have a gray and a brown here. And they have a kind of a mottled color. Now I could spend a lot of time, like these people very carefully patterned out the sides. I could spend a lot of time doing that. I don't want to do that. I'm going to be a little bit more random. So I'm going to focus on my gray first. And then we're going to do the top of the body. And I'm just going to do kind of a squiggle fill in here. And then that takes care of my extra line there. And this is going to give me a pattern. Now they're usually lighter on the bottom, so I'm actually not going to add a lot of different color on the bottom. We're just going to do a little squiggle. Real quick. Out onto the fluke a little bit here. Tail, I'm going to do the other side a little bit. Edge here. I'm going to do the same thing with my brown, just a little bit of a squiggle, my go a little darker, a little up and down, different pattern. And then I'll take my gray and go over the whole thing. And then you'll see that you'll have a little bit of a pattern in there, and you didn't have to spend a lot of time carefully, precisely drawing out all of those different little edges. And then the flipper also needs to be darkened, and I'm just gonna color it in. Maybe go all the way up here. We're getting pretty close. Now we need to add a little detail to the tusk. They usually have a little bit of a color. They're pretty white, but they're a little bit of a color. And they spiral, they turn. And so usually the way I do that is just do little tiny kind of little curves, starting on one side, going to the other. Not all the way down to the end. A little bit of yellow. You don't have to add yellow. If all you have is a brown, that's fine. Now we have a beautiful narwhal tusk. So now I want to add a little bit of habitat. So they live under the pack ice in and around the Arctic Circle, like Greenland, even farther north than that in the summer. And so we're going to add a little bit of water. I have 2 colors of blue. You can pick whichever one you want. If you only have 1 color of blue, that's fine too. We can actually use that other gray to help with some colors. So I'm gonna give us the surface of the water here. And then we're gonna give ourselves some underwater. We're gonna go actually just right through our whale here, so it looks like they're underwater. Now they like to eat fish that are really, really deep in the water. They can go down 1,500 meters and they can stay down for 25 minutes. That's a long time to hold your breath. And because they live where there's ice, we're gonna add a little bit of, we're gonna add some little floating icebergs. So I'm gonna make kind of like you would draw mountains. I'm gonna have a mountain here and a mountain here. Now the thing with icebergs is that you can't see a lot of the iceberg. It goes underneath the surface. So we're gonna reflect that iceberg kind of down into the water there. We'll do that here. Just gonna do this like kind of like a shadow, so you can tell the difference. And I might take my other blue and just add a couple little shadows up top here. You can make this all darker if you wanted to. You could color the whole thing blue if you wanted to, but that would take a long time and be kind of boring if I just sat here and colored everything in blue. So I'm not going to do that. That's up to you. You get to make your own little Arctic habitat. So here's our water surface. Now just to finish them up, because now they're in this sort of dark blue water, it's kind of hidden. We're going to just take our black and go around the outside. I'm going to emphasize that little dent where the neck is, because I have a chance to now. Down. Follow the outside of my heart shape here. Kind of an upside down heart. And here's a chance to get rid of that line without having to erase it. I'm going to just take my black, go around the outside here, and up and under. I can do do the tusk as well. The tusk is a little bit harder because it's so narrow, but sometimes it's hard to not make it a little wonky. But I've seen a couple narwhal tusks that are a little wonky, so they aren't perfect. And then we're just gonna highlight that eye to bring out a little smile in our narwhal. And then I'm gonna sign it. So narwhal, they don't usually put the A at the, or the E at the end. So Narwhal. And there we have a narwhal drawing. And now you have to do one too. And I would love it if you would show them to us at the Bell Museum. Thank you.